Hey guys, LevelCap here. Today we're going to talk about Rainbow Six Siege patches, the one that came out today and the one that's coming out later this month, plus the delayed Rainbow Six Siege DLC. First things first, the patch that came out today is patch 1.2. It launched on PC, not the consoles, and the reason for this is that consoles need a prolonged validation process in which Microsoft and Sony both go through their own validation processes, and Ubisoft just has to wait for them. On PC, Ubisoft can just release the patch whenever they feel it's ready. So it looks like going forward they're probably going to be releasing the patches first on PC, and then whenever they get approved they'll come out on console. Personally, I think this is a good way forward with patching any game that's multi-platform, and it sort of shows the power of the PC not needing those validation processes, and maybe it'll get the console platforms to sort of loosen up some of their regulations a little bit and make it easier to patch things on there, just so that the PC crowd isn't getting all the patches ahead of time. Now, the first change that they've made to the game is something that you can access through your My Documents folder. After you launch the game, it'll update your INI file in there, your settings INI file, and you can modify that so that it always connects to the proper data center. There was a bug where people were connecting to the wrong data centers. If you're on West Coast, you might have connected to East Coast, and then you would have had weird latency issues or something like that. So now you can manually tell it what data center to connect it to, and I recommend going in there and setting that up for yourself. Ubisoft has already stated that they're going to add this option into the actual in-game menu later, but they needed to get it in the game as soon as possible, so you can mod it in your INI file for now. The other big improvement, I won't call it a full-on fix yet, but it's an improvement to the matchmaking system, is that it takes into account player ranks much better now. It takes into account how many players are matched in a party. If you've only teamed up with one other friend and their other three are randoms, then it'll match you against a similarly made party instead of pitting you against a fully pre-made party or something like that. So it'll try and find evenly matched groups of players, both based on ranked and how many people you've teamed up with. Also, it's incorporating some skill and region into that criteria as well, so hopefully you'll have better pings against the opponents you're playing against. Now, there's been a whole bunch of other small fixes like collision issues, people getting stuck in certain parts of the map, windows that could break when you weren't supposed to be able to break them, getting out of the map boundaries or stuff like that. You know, just weird small game-breaking exploits that most people probably haven't seen, but it's a good thing that they're fixing them. Also, ranked play heads-up display has been synced with the casual game mode, so now they should be the same. This was a little controversial. Personally, I haven't played enough ranked yet. I just don't want to play it until the game is more stable at this point. But I will be getting into ranked play once everything's set up, and probably a couple months down the line when everything's working much more fluidly. And speaking of which, there's another patch scheduled to come out, I believe January 14th for PC, that's going to work on a bunch of the other issues in the game. I'm still getting that synchronizing data bug. It happens to me all the time now. I've had it happen like 5-6 games in a row. I'm sure I would be like 2 or even 3 ranks higher than I am right now if it was just recording all of that data, which is really unfortunate. You know, it sucks when you do really well, especially, and you don't get any of that score or any of that renown. Hopefully that'll be fixed in the next patch on January. It's not all of my games again, but it is a good percentage of my games that just don't get recorded at all. So they're working hard on fixing that issue for the January 14th patch. They're working on error 41, which is a very common reoccurring bug that I think just disconnects you from the game. They're working on reducing the extended matchmaking connection time. So basically when you're loading into a game and it just takes forever and you're like, what the heck? You know, that happens all the time. They're working on fixing the loading screen bug where it's just a smoky background. There's also issues if you're trying to matchmake with a party of 4 that it takes crazy long. So they're trying to fix that as well. It's nice to see that Ubisoft is going to come out with a second patch this month, even though they said that they were going to do 1 patch per month. It's good on them just to show, hey, we recognize the game is not performing where we'd like it to be, so we're going to up our patching schedule even further. It's really good to see, and I think once this game finally stabilizes out and people can expect to have consistent matches all the time, then it's going to become just that staple, super addicting competitive shooter. I mean, it already is that. It's just frustrating. In fact, it's mostly when I stop playing is when I run into one of these bugs where it just freezes or lags, or I don't get any of my experience recorded from an amazing game, and I'll just kind of like rage quit. So once those elements are out of the game, I can see this being like just a full-on addictive first-person shooter. Now, how about the DLC for this game? There's 4 planned for 2016. The first one is called Operation Black Ice. It's got 1 new map and 2 new Canadian operators. Now, this one was delayed to February 2nd, which I could care less about because I think most people are concerned with the performance issues of the game, and we're not really looking for new operators or new maps until the game is performing nicely, so the delay is fine with me. It is nice, though, that this is going to be a free DLC. Everybody will get the map for free, and then the operators, everybody will be able to unlock with Renown like you could before with the other operators. So that's really cool. If you buy the season pass, then you'll get the operators unlocked for you automatically. So I'm still loving the game, and the fact that Ubisoft is making a huge effort to try and patch and get this game up and running stably and well, and so that people can just enjoy the experience and not worry about the bugs or how the game's performing is really good. I think they can see how great this game could be, how big it could be once they get online and working. So it's nice to see that there's going to be long time support for the game and that they're making such a big effort right now. It gives me a little bit more faith in perhaps some of their upcoming titles like The Division. Now, in terms of game design and gameplay balance, I think there's still a bit of ways that they could go with this. I'm still not 100% on board with the weapon balances. I feel it really does reward spray and pray a little bit more than it should. And then in addition to that, there's other weird wonky mechanics in the game. One of the ones that annoys me the most is how in the beginning of the round, when you're scouting with your drones, if your teammate dies, they can watch from your drone's perspective and spot targets instead of you spotting targets. So they'll get points for spotting targets with your drone, and especially when you're trying to hide your drone in like a room or something, you get a great hiding spot for it, and they start spotting the bad guys, and the bad guys turn around and shoot your drone. It's like insanely aggravating. I think they should not let other players get points for spotting, or at least spot on your drone while you're operating it. Either that's a bug or it's just a bad game design. The other thing that I think this game desperately needs is a working map preference selector, so you can sort of select like your top 3 favorite maps that you want to play on, and that way it won't match you in game modes that you don't want to play, or maybe in between round map voting. Stuff like that would really be helpful, because there's just some maps out there that are clearly less fun to play than others, and then sometimes you don't play your favorite map for like 10 games in a row, and you're like, man, I really want to play house, or I really want to play airplane, and it would just be a nice feature to have in there. So anyway, that pretty much wraps it up for what's going on in Rainbow Six Siege right now. A lot of work left to be done, but Ubisoft seems to be stepping up to the plate and getting stuff done and scheduling patches. So very good news to hear, and I'm looking forward to the future of this game. As always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is LevelCap signing off.